We are back for another episode of the Double Switch podcast. Free agency is underway. Already some deals being made. Aaron Nola, Sonny Gray signed today. Some dominoes starting to fall here, and it's time for a fun episode here. Free agency preview. It's always fun to talk free agents, and I wish I had some more energy, but it's a Monday after Thanksgiving weekend, and I'm kind of tired, but I'm going to try to drum up as much energy as I can for this episode because this is fun stuff. So, how are you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing good, man. It's a nice holiday, a long little break from work and all. Just got to lounge a little bit. We're not used to that at this age. Having like a Friday just to like do nothing is like kind of weird.
Yeah, you're right. It's the first time in a really long time where I actually like relaxed. I felt relaxed, and I don't know if that's really unhealthy for me. It probably is, but no, I relaxed and I'm feeling good, and I can't wait for Christmas and New Year's because it's supposed to be a relaxing part of the year, so it'll be here before you know it.
Heck yeah, yeah. And Christmas season, we're shopping for some free agents now.
Shopping for some free agents. I have seen so many names mentioned. I've seen so many rumors. I don't know if we're ever going to figure this out, but I think we've gotten to the point in like MLB free agency where a lot of it's just not true. And I think a lot of the agents of these players are just making stuff up because some of the stuff I see is just like I feel like certain things just are being said to kind of like drum up support for their players and stuff. And I don't know what to trust anymore, to be completely honest, because predictions never seem to work out when people are making predictions for off-season moves. But nonetheless, I mean, we're going to try our best. Have we?
Yeah.
I think last year we actually had a pretty good offseason, right? I mean, I had Taijuan Walker, and you had Trey Turner, right? I think that's how
I did. Yeah. Yep. For a couple guys who aren't beat writers, I mean, we're kind of on it.
Maybe we should be beat writers. I don't know.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that John Heyman's Scott Boris's personal beat writer.
I could so see that. I could so see that. But anyway, let's get into this because I have players here. I didn't really think of a strategy. I kind of just went the way of fun players that I think would be unique adds to this team. So I'm going to throw it back to you. What is the No. Am I frozen?
You've been frozen.
Okay. General strategy, Johnny. What is the blueprint for this season? What are you thinking here?
For me, I'll just lay it out pretty quick for everyone. It's upgrading the outfield. We saw in the postseason we needed an extra bat in the outfield. I think it's likely Rojas starts in AAA. I think putting Marsh back in center and getting a left fielder is something they should do. I think strengthening the rotation, maybe moving off Taijuan Walker and getting a different arm from a different country might be an idea. And then I think you can always bolster the bullpen and adding a little more depth to the bench. I think we don't have any real threats at the plate on the bench right now, and that was kind of an issue in the playoffs. So I think those four things, those are what we have to hit on this offseason.
All right. So I'll kind of just base like what I talk about off of where you want to start. Why don't you pick one of the categories and just rank them in terms of urgency, the most important category to least important. Start with the most important and give me your guy.
All right. So I think outfield, I think that's important. I think we're a team that's been focused on hitting. I think we got to go after a left fielder, and I think that guy is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I think a 4-year deal for Gurriel seems like a nice idea. I like that he's still 30 and he's probably just hitting his best years. If you look at the trajectory of his career, so I think that's my key one right there. And then bullpen arm, that's number 2. I think we definitely need to add a guy like Jordan Hicks. I think Jordan Hicks would be a huge addition to the team. And then
You're going right
rotation.
down the line here. I thought we were just going to do one at a time. You're just spilling all the beans here real quick.
Yeah, I can't see your face, so.
I know. It's tricky because you have no idea like what I'm thinking, but it's nice because I can type in the background and like I can research and no one really knows what I'm doing.
Fair. I'll pause there.
Lourdes Gurriel. Let's start with him because outfield, left field, I think is super important, and specifically it has to be a righty. I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah,
it's an opportunity here to get a right-handed option in this lineup where there's so much swing and miss from the right side. We saw the problems exposed in the playoffs. I mean, we need a righty who can put bat on ball pretty consistently. Lourdes Gurriel, he's always had an ability to do that. He hasn't been the most flashiest player throughout his career. He's kind of boring in a good way. You know, he's a guy you plug into your lineup. You know what he's going to give you. It's going to be, you know, an average type home run production. You're looking at, you know, he batted 260 this year. It's just it's a player on a winning team. You know, that's the type of player that good teams have. You know, it's the players that you can kind of plug in and not worry about, and you can worry about other positions. And I do like him, but I wonder what that looks like in terms of a contract because he's coming off of a postseason where he was just there's so much attention on the D-backs, and I feel like playoff like players like that always just their value skyrockets because it's like the lasting memory that front offices have is that player performing. But no, he should get something good. Yeah, he should get something good. I know he's connected to the Braves, which makes a lot of sense if I'm being honest. The Braves could use him in left field, but no, I like him as well. And yeah, no objections from me there.
Yeah, I think people are the talk of the town is probably 15 million AAV for Gurriel, probably for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's I can't tell you how much is left in the tank in terms of like front office spend, but that feels like the tippy top. You know, if we do that, I can't imagine us splurging on a bullpen piece or a rotation arm. You know, I don't know what kind of tier they're shopping in, but that feels like it would be the top.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think they'd really go much over that, and which makes it interesting because there's another guy I think is a very similar ball player to Gurriel and Soler, who's projected to get about the same but less years because he's 2 years older. I think the same teams are probably looking at both those guys.
Yeah, and Soler is he's got the swing and miss, which is the problem. You know that swing and miss is going to be a big problem for him. I guess this is a good time for me to kind of throw back the name that I'm thinking about, and I'm going to look like a copier because we were lazy and didn't get to this episode fast enough. I think Whit Merrifield makes sense, and I don't even like Whit Merrifield as like a baseball player. I think there was a time there where he was a solid player, but as he got older, he's just gotten pretty overrated. But I mean, you're looking at a player here in his career. He's played second base, third base, shortstop. I see some first base, some left field, some center field. He's a right-handed option. The plate discipline's never going to be super good, but this is a player. It's a very, very high-quality utility player. And he's obviously, you know, he's known as a pretty good clubhouse guy, so you know the fit's going to be pretty good. I like him with his ability to move around and kind of take the weight off some of these bad fielders that we know we have. You know, he can step in for third for Alec Boehm. He could play left for Schwarbs. He could cover in center, you know, against a tough lefty because we know Rojas isn't exactly there with the bat. Yeah, he kind of reminds me of Matt Vierling, just older and more seasoned. And I think that's a unique fit. And all things considered, I don't think he's going to cost that much because I mean, what is he now? 34, 30. Yeah, he's getting up there in age, but I mean, it's a useful player still. He's still 26 bases. So I mean, even pinch running late in games, if you don't start him, that's just depth, quality depth, and you can never have enough of that, you know. And now I do look like I look like a copier because Whit Merrifield's name was leaked over the weekend. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see that actually.
Yeah, well, I thought of it first. So
Yeah, no, I think it's been a natural fit. I mean, you look at the holes we need. Left field's one of them, and being able to play multiple infield positions, and I mean, it does give us a little bit better of or like a rotational piece like that. We don't really have a guy like that. The Veerling comp you had, that's kind of interesting.
yeah, for a season that was so up and down, and I mean it ended on a pretty sour note. Something that doesn't get talked about is the kind of the void that Matt Vierling left, and it's not something that's super obvious, but that type of profile that he had, just a righty who can just square up baseballs and make somewhat consistent contact and play the outfield. It kind of feels like what Rojas couldn't do, Matt Vierling was kind of doing last year, right?
Well
Isn't that the
said.
main? Yeah, that's the main comparison there.
I
And
think
yeah,
that's kind of what people wanted. A guy
yeah,
that could put the ball in the bat more.
yeah, an outfielder who can just make contact and get on base and wreak some havoc and play everywhere. I think it's a useful tool. And at this point, you're putting finishing touches on a roster. He seems like a finishing touch type of a player.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Couldn't agree more.
I have I have 3 trades for outfielders. If you want to get into that, but I don't think we should get into that yet because let's just move on to your next position because I'm going to go all over the place with that. So what do you got next?
Well, this would be my trade right here. The starting rotation. I got us moving off of Taiwan Walker, which I've said before. I just don't think it's a great value deal. I think there's going to come a point in the offseason where there's a couple teams that missed out on their guys who are starters, more of middle rotation, back of rotation kind of guys. And I think someone will be willing to take on that contract for the right price. So I have us moving off of him and going out and signing Shota Imanga out of Japan.
Talk to me a little bit about Shota because I know a lot about Yamamoto, but who
Yeah.
doesn't at this point? Why don't you talk a little bit about what he can do because I haven't watched him pitch.
Well, the big benefit, not for price, it's a benefit. He's 30 compared to Yamamoto's 25. So he's definitely not going to get the same type of contract. I don't think he'll make it into the 20 millions a year. He'll probably stay in the teens, which kind of puts him more in our ballpark. And he's a guy who's made a living off of great accuracy, great command. He touches 95 to 97, and he has great breaking stuff, 3-pitch pitcher. And, he's done it for a while. To me, I look at him, and it adds like almost another Ranger Suarez to our rotation. Just kind of a steady Eddie, command-driven guy, great control of his breaking pitches. I don't think you can have too many of those guys.
Is he a lefty or a righty?
Lefty.
Lefty. Okay. No, I like it. It's a name that's probably going to fly under the radar because of who else is coming over, over to the States with him. I do like it, and the Taiwan Walker thing. I want to believe you that there's going to be a team that's going to be lining up, but it's more likely than not we're either going to have to just eat a ton of money or attach a prospect. I do see like an outcome where a team with a bunch of young pitchers who haven't pitched like full seasons could kind of bring him in as the guy who will pitch a full season. Maybe like the Cincinnati Reds, maybe like they have that young staff. I could see a team like that kind of turning to a pitcher like him, but it's so tough because if he was on the open market coming off of that season that he just had, I don't know what he could get. Then again, I mean, Kyle Gibson just got $12 million over 1 year, which is insane. So
people
it's
pay to
tricky.
eat innings.
Yeah, and I think it's not going to leak or anything. They're never going to admit to it, but I'm sure they're trying. Like I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean they have to see that it was just nothing against Taiwan. He seems like a great teammate, and I mean for the most part he kind of did do what we wanted him to do, but it's just the value is not there, and the way a lot of our contracts are adding up, that $18 million could be really useful in other places.
Yeah, they thought they could unlock something, and they tried, but there was nothing to unlock. Turns out, and that'll happen. I mean, you're not right on everybody, so it's just unfortunate for us as a team. I don't have anybody for the staff. I think that the more likely than not, I think what we have now, we're probably going to roll out. Um, Sonny Gray made sense. Sonny Gray just signed. Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Sanchez. I mean, it wasn't a problem for us throughout the season, so it's
No, it wasn't.
probably it's probably not going to be something that they look towards. But if they do, I mean, I'm always willing to improve that back into the rotation. I think that's the that can be the difference maker in a 7-game series. Who you have going to game 4, and the better you feel about that, the better your odds are. So should always be looking to improve there. So.
Absolutely.
What else you got?
I got bench. I had two guys. I actually have three that all options. Whit Merrifield was one of them as a utility type bench player. But as other options, I was thinking Gio Urshela. Did I say that right?
Gio Urshela, yes.
Urshela, okay. Yeah, I mean, he plays third, first, and a little bit shortstop. Yep. And then also Ahmad Rosario can play both middle infield positions, second and short, which is helpful. He's a little on the younger side, so I feel like Gio and Witt both would be really good options because they can play 3 positions. And, Witt can play more than 3 positions, but yeah, those guys. And they're both 32 and 34, so they might be more open to taking a bench role on a really good team.
I like Gio Urshela because he's some righty pop off the bench. He seems like a logical pinch hit candidate, which is nice. Rosario, I'm not sure what Rosario can do that Edmundo Sosa can't do.
Yeah.
I think that they bring a lot to the table, and I'm sure Edmundo's cheaper. Rosario might actually get some a nice payday this offseason just because I know he's been putting up some pretty good seasons.
He's under 30 too.
Yeah, he's under 30. He doesn't seem like the type of player that they sign, kind of. That seems like somebody they trade for, but not necessarily sign. I didn't go that way. It's interesting you went that way. So where are you at on Edmundo Sosa?
I mean, I like him, but as I think he's our best glove off the bench, but really not sold on his bat. I just wish we had someone with a little more consistency in the bat. I know being a bench bat's a tough job and it's streaky and you don't get a lot of opportunities, but I mean, I like Sosa. I think he's going to stay on this team as a bench piece, but there needs to be other bats around him because when we need a big hit, I don't know he's the guy, but when we need a defensive replacement, he is the guy.
Yeah, it seems like the team had so much faith in the offense that they just went out and got a bunch of defense guys to fill the bench with to pivot late in games to a more defensive minded team, and it kind of bit us in the butt when the offensive guys weren't working. Some interesting names there. I guess this is kind of like my turn. I always idealize really weird roster management. I think I'm tricking everybody, and now I'm going to get on here and it's not going to sound as good as it did in my head a week ago. I think that the San Francisco Giants are going to sign Matt Chapman. It feels like kind of a done deal at this point. He just seems like a guy who wants to be back in the Bay Area where he kind of started his career. And once they sign Matt Chapman, I think they're going to be willing to deal JD Davis. And JD Davis he was on the Mets for a while. He's never really kind of put it together pop wise, but in his career, he's played third base predominantly, left field, first base. I think there's a world here where he can be that right-handed bat that we kind of need. This is a guy who had he had an 857 OPS when he got traded to the Giants last year. 42 extra base hits. I mean, 740 OPS last year. He seems like an impact bat that we can kind of juggle between left, first base, and third base. I don't know what it looks like, but I want a player who can both fill in for Schwartz and left and fill in for Bryce at first. I don't know why I want that, but it just seems like I want those guys to DH as much as possible. Just keep those guys
Yeah,
off their
I
feet, keep
think
them
that's the
healthy.
exact reason.
And if
Those are
you
the
have
guys who went off their feet.
and if you have somebody at first base, like you need an impact bat. I don't need Cody Clemens. I need a impact bat, and it has to kind of be a righty. And he only has 1 year left. I don't know what they're going to want for him, but I know he's a quality bat that hits the ball hard. And I think they're going to get Matt Chapman and they're going to trade him. I don't know if the Phils are going to be thinking what I'm thinking here, but I think it could work.
I like that. I see the benefit of it. I mean, I honestly forgot J.D. Davis played all those positions, but I was always a fan of his, and I mean, I thought he was going to piece it together with the Mets personally, but I think that is the caliber bat that would fit well on the bench here. I think it slots in really well.
We need a righty who's capable of starting. We don't seem to have that. And I mean, J.D. Davis was 77th in average exit velocity. 72nd percentile in hard hit rate, puts the bat on the ball, and his K rate's in the 19th percentile. But I mean,
wow,
he does provide some thump that we desperately kind of need off the bench. I don't know. I think if for the right price, it makes sense.
Sign me up. Yeah, sign me up for that or Gio. And I think that's a sort of pop that the Phillies need to acquire.
You ready for the more boring name? That's probably going to happen.
How boring is it?
It's pretty boring.
All right, let's hear it.
So, I think we're totally going to trade for Connor Joe, first base outfielder for the Pirates. I feel like we're going to trade for Connor Joe, and he's fine, but he's just not as fun,
That's interesting. I have never even thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his page, and he has pretty much been a full-time right fielder with the Pirates, but he was a full-time left fielder with the Rockies before they traded him to him. And he's actually a guy who I like because he takes a walk more than anything else. I mean, he had 55 walks in 2022, 15 last year, and I mean, compared to some of the guys on this team that you're lucky to get 25 walks out of them in terms of like Nick Castellanos, that's a big difference, Mm-hmm. And he's not going to get a ton of, it's not going to cost a ton. It's the Pirates who are rebuilding. So if you toss them something interesting, they'd certainly be willing to trade Connor Joe because he's not part of the future.
And I mean, when you look at Connor Joe, I mean, like the upside on him is not crazy. So I think that kind of affects the price tag.
Yeah, no, I mean it makes sense.
But it could be a very high on base percentage type of guy for this team that lacks that. I mean, we have some guys that kind of make up for that with like slugging, but we don't really have a good group of guys who take the extra base more often than not. I like that fit.
Yeah, he's been starting, and on this team, he get less at bats and he'd be exposed less, so he might be better in a part-time role. And we do trade with the Pirates a lot. I don't know if people have noticed that, but if you're kind of eyeing up what you think is going to happen in the offseason, you can take a look at like who teams have traded with in the past. And I feel like those teams always link up again. So it would help to kind of look Angels, Pirates, teams like that. I mean, the front offices do have relationships, and the Pirates seem to be a common trade partner with us.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Wait,
who's the last person traded to the Pirates?
Bailey Falter.
Oh, yep.
Bailey Falter. And then we had Tyler Anderson the year before, but that fell through. Remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. They're always talking. So a name to keep an eye on. But that's kind of all I have for right-handed first base, left field options. Let's talk bullpen because I think that's most likely here.
I think that is probably the move that I would guarantee right now. I'm not sure of everything, but I know in this day and age of baseball, they're going to add a good arm because everyone's doing it.
Who you got?
I got two. I'll just give them both to you. I got my primary is Jordan Hicks because he's 27. He fits the mold of what we like in our relievers, sinker baller. Basically like Alvarado from the right-hand side with that sinker and that slider. So I would love that. People are projecting him to get around like 3 years, 40. I would do that right away. And then if I also think it's intriguing and a more versatile option would be Nick Martinez from the Padres, who is a reliever. I mean, when we faced him in the playoffs, he was an eighth inning type guy, but then tried to get a rotation job, ended up being the long man. So he's done a little bit of everything for the Padres. And I think that versatility would be really good with the Phils.
I weighed the pros and cons of Jordan Hicks for a long time. He feels like the most, what's the word? Like prototypical, like Dombrowski regime pitcher. He feels like the guy that they would bring in. But I have some concerns about Jordan Hicks because throughout his career, he's always thrown like 103 miles an hour. He should be way better than he is. With the stuff he has, why hasn't a team been able to really get it to click in
Well,
terms
he's only
of?
been on one team, right?
I mean, Cardinals couldn't get it to click, and then I don't think he made any good strides with the Blue Jays either in his half season with them.
Well, maybe he just needs the Phillies development.
Yeah, that's kind of where I went with that argument, and then I thought about it, and he shares a lot of similarities with Gregory Soto, who you and I got on here and we talked about like they're going to unlock Gregory Soto. He throws 100 from the left side. There's something in there that they're going to unlock, and they probably think they can unlock it too. And then Gregory Soto gets here, and it doesn't happen. He doesn't click.
He never
Nothing changes. So I could totally see a world where we sign Jordan Hicks thinking he's going to be like peak Aroldis Chapman from the right side, and he gets here and he's just the same Jordan Hicks. Sometimes it just that's like all the player has in him. It happened with Soto this year, and you have to have confidence in your development team, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. And it's very, very possible that Jordan Hicks does not have another year.
Yeah, I mean, but also you could say that he could figure it out.
That's true.
It's different. He might not be like Gregory Soto. He might just think he is. He might love the situation. We might teach him some great things, and he might end up being Aroldis Chapman from the right side.
Yeah, the thing I'm worried about, though, is I think that other teams are going to think they can turn him into Aroldis Chapman from the left side, and I think he's going to probably start to get pretty expensive there quick because arms like his don't come around too often. Production like he can provide is pretty common. It's production that he's provided so far, but just the arm is so intriguing. I do get the appeal.
Yeah. Do you have any other backups in the bullpen, or is
he wasn't even? Bullpen? Yeah, he wasn't even my guy. Yeah. Yeah. So you're going to probably be a little underwhelmed with my name.
Okay.
I know that you're going to know who he is. He doesn't have a ton of closing experience. I know he's closed games. Looking at our bullpen and the way it is, I don't think they bring in a full-time closer like they kind of did with Craig Kimbrell. That plan, I don't know if there's a clear option for who that would even be at this point. So I think they're going to just fill in the bullpen with high-quality arms. And like you and I discussed, I think a couple episodes ago, I think we're at the point in our roster construction where we need to start bringing in guys who we know can perform under high pressure. Sure, Craig Kimbrell has had a great career, but if you can't perform under the lights of the postseason, this isn't the team for you because we fully expect to be there. With that being said, I'm going to sign Phil Maton from the Astros. Nice. Not the most fun name, but he's ultra reliable. In his career, has a 4.25 ERA, which does not sound good. He didn't figure it out until the past 2 seasons. I mean, 65 innings, 3.84 in 2022, 66 innings in 2023 with a even 3 ERA. But then you start to look at his postseason stats, which I'm more interested in, to be completely honest. And 0.83 ERA in 21 innings in the playoffs. Being a part of those Astros teams, you know that he's not going to be phased by the bright lights. We've seen him perform in the playoffs for years and years and years.
Yeah.
You get here, and you get into Citizens Bank Park with the energy behind you. If that's a situation you're comfortable in, you can succeed in the playoffs here, and I fully believe that he can do it. I mean, at 0.83 over 21 innings, that's like legit postseason reliever type stuff. It's not the biggest sample size, but that's 20 outings, and he's given up 2 runs. That's just another arm I want to throw into the mix here.
I think you brought up a good point that that is something that the Phillies should be factoring in when making decisions as guys that have a lot of experience in the postseason. It's a real thing, and if you haven't been there before, you might not be up for it. We know Phil Maton would be up for the task. So
yeah, and he's not the most exciting name. He's not going to get the most money, but that's fine. All I care about
get
is
the job done.
Yeah, I just want you to stay healthy, and I want you to provide when it matters, which is Craig Kimbrell stayed healthy, but he couldn't provide when it matters. You need to provide in the playoffs, and I need to feel comfortable with you coming out here, or it's not going to be a good fit. And I think this is a good point to bring up another name that has been mentioned a ton, and we'll wrap up here soon because these episodes always go too long.
Yeah.
I don't want Hector Neris back, and I'm probably the minority there. He's a good pitcher. I've seen a lot of Hector Neris at this point in my life. He's a terrific regular season pitcher. He has a 3.24 ERA in his career in the regular season. But he went down to Houston, and I mean, his ERA is in the 4s. I just think coming back and that reunion that everybody thinks is going to happen, where he comes back and like gets us to the promised land, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen that way, and you're factoring emotion into a financial decision, which is never a good idea. And I think I'd pass on Hector.
I think you're right. It's more of like a poetic want. Everyone's like, oh, it'd be so cool if Hector came back and led us to a ring. But you're right. I mean, he was okay in Houston, and personally, the way he made me have a heart attack every time he pitched in Philadelphia, I don't know if I can do that again. I mean, he felt like he was loading the bases every single 9th inning, but
that's still ingrained in my memory. I can't forget that. He had a great Phillies career, but I only remember the stressful parts. I always remember the stressful parts.
It was really hard to watch his outings. Although he tended to get the job done at the end of the inning, it was never easy. And maybe find a guy that makes it a little easier.
Well said. But no, Phil Maton is my guy, and I mean, I have other names here that are interesting, but I don't know how realistic they are, so I don't know if I really want to name them.
Okay. All right.
Got anything else in the bullpen?
That's it for me. Hicks and Martinez are my 2.
So I think what's important to bring up here is who we didn't name. No big names in this episode. No big reliever trades. No Soto. Kind of lame.
I don't think we have as stupid of money as people think.
Realistic, but lame.
I think we're being realistic here, and I think we might be right with some of these.
I don't.
It's not flashy because it's not Trout, but
yeah. I think it's happened too many times where a team thinks that they can just throw money, or a front office thinks they can just throw money at a team and just hope they'll win. But it's so much more complicated than that. Look at the Padres. Look at the Mets. It's just you don't. I'm fully confident that if you throw a couple pieces like bench right-handed bats, a reliever, and you run it back, it could completely go our way. I think this team's good enough to win a World Series as is. To be completely honest, I don't think we even need any of those moves, and just fine tune the edges. And baseball's weird; you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and maybe get some contributions from the guys down the minor leagues at some point in the season, and that could be enough.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing that we could probably cover in another off-season episode.
Yeah, we can hit on that.
Yeah, there's
What
guys
can
we have.
come up.
Yeah, but no, free agency preview. Always fun doing this, and yeah, some interesting names, and we should hit on one of them. We usually do, so I'm going to be interested to see who actually ends up being right this year.
Yeah, hopefully we both get one. But
Yep.
yeah, if whoever's watching this one, feel free to reach out in the comments. I'll answer you. I'd love to get some feedback and kind of shoot the shit about what we're going to do this offseason.
Yeah, I would answer, but I'm going to be too busy fixing my computer.
Yeah, dude, Josh got a different model Microsoft Surface. His is just not as good as mine.
It's okay. I was here, and I spilled all the details, and we'll be back to kind of watch it all unfold. And I'm sure my computer's going to work next time, so no worries there.
Sure.
Got anything else?
That's all from me.
Alrighty. As always, thank you guys for listening, and we will be back to talk to you soon.
Go Phils.